This is Elicity's identity-based microsegmentation, and I'm Dana Yanch. I'm a director of technical marketing at Elisity, and I'm also a product manager at this company focused on some of the core components of our solution. And today, I'm really happy to have with me, all the way from Poland, our CTO, Piotr Kupiciewicz. How was that? That's his last name, and I practiced that last name with the European accent for some time. How was that?
It was perfect.
Pretty good. All right. All right, good. I still have a job. But the agenda is going to go like this today. Piotr's going to kick it off for us, and he's going to talk about the industry as a whole from the perspective of microsegmentation, what he's seen and all of his experience around microsegmentation, a story of him joining this organization, as well as our bespoke approach to solving the microsegmentation problem that we know exists today. So after that, we're going to do a little bit of an origin story. I absolutely love origin stories, whether it's an origin story of a supervillain or a hero. It's even better if it's a startup. Those are always so interesting, and I really have a nice one for you guys today. And it's all real, it's all true too. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And then we're going to go into some case studies around what we've solved for our customers, how we've solved their problems in different verticals. And also, we're going to look at the architecture of our platform, get a little deep into it. And I'm sure we're going to have some amazing questions from this incredible panel of engineers that I'm so surprised to see some of the people that I know in the industry over the last my entire career. I get to see some of them in person finally and on Zoom. And we have Denise. I know Denise is famous. She's been in my mind for years. And Malcolm and I, we know each other from the CCDE study days. And Pete and I did blogs together. So it's just so amazing to see these people here with me today. So I'm going to hand it over to Piotr, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, Dana. By the way, my name is Piotr. You can call me Peter. It might be easier. I have joined Elisity 2 years ago. I remember I had the conversation with our CEO, James, around 2.5 years ago. I was wondering, James, when we are looking into segmentation market, it's kind of everything was said and done in this area. Firewalls. James actually worked for Checkpoint in '97. Firewalls existed for 30 years. VLANs, VRFs, the technologies that exist in the market for decades, for 40 years. Everyone heard about NAC. Probably 3 or 4 generations of NAC in the last 2 decades. I remember talking to James, and I was like, man, everything is already done. What can be done differently in segmentation, right? And is there any problem that is still worth solving in the segmentation area? And the reality is that only around 30% of the enterprise businesses are having microsegmentation implemented today. Everyone has a firewall. Every company has some kind of VLAN-based segmentation implemented, but very few companies are actually having the segmentation implemented at the edge with the granularity of the segments, which are basically manufacturing lines or individual devices in the hospital, right? We are still reading about ransomware attacks, which are stopping manufacturing plants, stopping hospitals, which is a proof that this problem is not solved. I have joined the cybersecurity industry around 20 years ago. I was actually an operator in automotive industry. What I took away from automotive is the most important KPI is availability. We had one maintenance window a year. It was in July. It was hot week in July. Manufacturing workers couldn't work anymore in manufacturing plant. So this is where we, the networking guys, we stepped in. We had 1 week to upgrade the switches, to rewire the racks, to install the firewalls. What I remember from these days is how difficult it was to implement any kind of segmentation, basically any type of change in the network, because of this requirement of, this limitation of one shutdown 1 week per year. After that, I've joined Cisco. I've been with Cisco for a decade. One of my journey in Cisco was, I had many roles there, but I've spent a couple of years as a senior security architect. I was designing and helping with implementing security solutions for the biggest companies in Europe. Obviously, microsegmentation and segmentation is part of the security designs. What I have learned when working with and implementing the microsegmentation solutions when I was back at Cisco, what I've learned is basically this process, the implementation of microsegmentation is a lengthy process. Were the projects that I was involved in, were they successful? Yes, they were, obviously, because I was there and I was part of the implementation team. Thank you for catching the...
Oh, it was a nice presentation. We'll see you later.
Of course, I'm kidding. The professional services at Cisco has been phenomenal. It's an amazing team, and I was privileged to be part of it. But the reality is that it took an average 4 to 7 years to implement microsegmentation in the enterprise network. Why? Because, for instance, a lot of microsegmentation solutions out there, they're required to implement NAC first. When we are talking about NAC, we are thinking about supplicants. To install supplicants, you need to choose the authentication protocol. You might use certificates, you might use credentials. There's a whole pre-work that needs to happen. Everyone who was deploying NAC knows that this is not an easy over-the-weekend journey, right? This is a couple of years of time investment, multiple maintenance windows required, and I just mentioned that I know for a fact that maintenance windows are hard to get in some industries. When talking about NAC, we also need to think about radius servers. In the big enterprise networks, we are not talking about one single radius server. We are talking about 20, 40, 100 radius servers geographically distributed. You need to take into the consideration the limitation of the delays between the radius server and the switch. There are 150 things that you need to take into the consideration only when deploying NAC. And this is just the foundation of microsegmentation solutions out there. Once you implement NAC, you need to think about overlay, some kind of inline tagging. It depends on the vendor, right? Long story short, there are quite a few successful microsegmentation solutions, and I'm sure some of you were in this part of the industry which successfully implemented microsegmentation in the campus networks. But again, we thought, and this was basically how James convinced me to join the company more than 2 years ago. He thought, and I was convinced that there are better ways to do it. That this time to value can be reduced from years and sometimes decades, to weeks and months. And this is really what we decided, what Elisity decided. This is the problem that Elisity decided to pursue. And